Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 15. Wow, we're already at 15. It's amazing. So in our last session, episode 14, we talked about simple things that you can do for your family during these crises. Warren talked about his family, right? I think it's maybe 7 children and 19 grandchildren. He has a really big family. It was a great episode. We talked about time for family. We talked about how each moment today is a teaching moment. We talked about building family unity and bringing family together, and really simple ideas we can bring to our family every day during this crisis to be stronger and to really align heart, mind, and soul. Like, how do we bring these things together? There were 3 topics, 3 takeaways after that session, and they were the little things that get big results, right? Little small things that get big results. He talked about specific things we can do, right, when we're with our family together, at meals, during playtimes, playing games. We talked about quantity and quality and how both of those things were really necessary during this time. And also taking a long-term view, like, what equity are you putting into your family during this time? He talked about family vision statement, right? And putting those 3 to 5 cards together, right? Asking each family member to write down, what is one word that represents family to you? What's one word that will help us bring our family together to create a vision statement? And I think he talked about his family had 250 cards, right? So they looked at those, they worked on those, they summarized those, and eventually voted on those. And his statement is still the same today. I was actually in a meeting yesterday with 50 entrepreneurs, and one of the things that they talked about is, what are the big things you've learned in this crisis? What are the big impacts that you've had? And the impact was really about family. So that was a great episode. Today's episode is going to be about committing to 5, right? 5 things that we need to do to empower the leader within us. I want to mention to you that Warren Rustand now has a website, warrenrustand.com, and you can watch any of these episodes, including the one I just mentioned a few minutes ago, at any time, warrenrustand.com. So a big thank you to you for being here. This has been an incredible session all the way up to 15, but it's been about all of us coming together to be together. It's about you posting amazing questions in the chat and really digging deep to try to understand how you can find and empower the leader within you. What an incredible opportunity. But thank you for all being together and being here together for each other. So thank you. So each week we introduce Warren. It's my favorite thing for every episode. And for those of you that have met Warren before, it's real simple. He walks up on the stage and people say, "Here's Warren." But for those of you that have not met Warren and had the opportunity to spend time with Warren, learning from Warren about how to empower the leader within you, I'll read his bio. Warren Rustand, former CEO of Providence Service Corporation. He has served as member of the board of directors for over 50 public, private, and not-for-profit companies. He served as appointment secretary to President Ford, global chairman of WPO, co-founder and the dean of faculty of the Entrepreneurs Organization, also Leadership Academy. Countless awards, Sports Hall of Fame, White House Fellow, I could go on and on and on, but the award that Warren really loves the most is the award of Father of the Year from his hometown, Tucson, Arizona. Just remember, this is a conversation. Thanks ahead for the comments already and questions. This is created by Warren for you, to bring you together, to ask questions, to learn, to grow, and to empower the leader within you. This is a conversation. This live episode will exist on this Facebook page. You can also find these episodes on Warren Rustand YouTube page, but also on his website, warrenrustand.com. I'm so excited about today. Are you ready? Here's Warren.
Good day. It's great to be with you again. What a great day it is. I find myself today in South Jordan, Utah, just south of Salt Lake City. My wife and I decided that we needed time to ourselves and needed to take a drive. So we're driving through the small towns in the Rocky Mountains up to the Canadian border. In that journey, we will visit 4 of our grandchildren who are at universities along the way. We'll end up at our daughter's house just outside of Seattle, Washington, and then we'll drive back again. seeing some of the great national parks, seeing some of the small towns in America is really gratifying for us, and it's a welcome relief from the crisis and the virus that we've been in for these many, many months. The topic of this first 9 episodes of the 15 were about the crisis we're in. Then we moved into the leader within us. And we'll conclude the leader within us today. And 2 weeks from today, we will talk about and begin a new series called The Challenge to Lead. So we'll talk about that a little bit further as we go to the end of this session. Today, we really want to talk about the notion of having this conversation again. And I've had so many of you reach out to me individually. I've enjoyed your comments and questions that you put in the chat room. But importantly, many of you have reached out to me personally and directly to have further conversations. And in that process, I've learned a great deal. And I want to thank you for helping my education, for helping my learning, because I've gotten smarter in this process. I hope somewhere along the line, something I've said is beneficial to you as well, and that you've enjoyed that part of the process. Because if we can learn from each other, then these conversations need to go on, because we continue to be embroiled in the virus, COVID-19. You'll recall the very first session that we had in this series of episodes was in the first week in March. And at that point, we were facing lockdown, shelter in place, not leaving our homes, not going to our place of employment. That was all new for us. Now, we've really been in this, if we assume that this started around February 1st, that we're coming up on 8 months now in the virus situation. Things are progressing in some ways and not in other ways. Unfortunately, we've lost a lot of great people along the way, and our sympathy and empathy and condolences go out to those who've lost loved ones during this period of time. It's been very, very difficult and very challenging for all of the countries represented on this call, and all the countries of the world who are dealing with this in a significant way. So I suspect that we're in for the long haul. As I said in the first week in March, gear up for this being a 2-year process, maybe more, maybe less, but certainly prepare yourself to be involved for at least 2 years in the virus situation. And I think we're on track to do that. So I hope that you continue to prepare, continue to be vigilant, continue to be precise in the manner in which you guide and direct yourself, your family, your extended family, your businesses, and beyond, because this is a really challenging time, made even more challenging by other things like natural disasters. The big hurricane that hit in the United States near Louisiana and in Louisiana last night in the early hours of this morning, make it even more trying and more difficult for the people who are affected by that. And so we think about them today as we talk about this concept called Commit to 5. I'm in the offices of 2 friends of mine, Mark Stubler and Cody Hoffine. They've allowed me to come here and use their offices as we're traveling in the Rocky Mountains, and I really appreciate it. So the backdrop looks a little bit different. Everything about this looks slightly different. So I hope it's okay for you, and I hope the resolution is good and that we're able to stay online during this process. I hope today's discussion will help you and benefit you in a way that you can apply what we talk about today immediately to benefit your life. A good friend of mine I met in Nepal several years ago. Her name is Shaylee Basnet. She's an Everest climber, a young woman, 90 pounds, carrying a 70-pound bag, climbing Mount Everest is amazing in my view. She's an extraordinary woman. And after she climbed it and proved she could, she rallied other women. And so there was a women's team ascent of Mount Everest. She then took that same women's team and they climbed the 7 highest summits on the 7 continents. She's an amazing woman. She's written a book about her adventures and experience. And they used the proceeds that they raised from these climbs to take women, young women out of human trafficking and reorient them and get their career started. It's an amazing thing. But she said this: facing adversity is doing your best at your worst time. Doing your best at your worst time. And for many, some of us on this call and many others that we know, it's the worst time for many people. And yet we have to call upon ourselves to do our best, to do important things, to get stuff done. And that's not easy. Today, we want to talk about how we can get some important things done in a process that I've used for several decades. And it has helped me to achieve a higher level of performance and to get the most important things done in my life on a regular basis. And so we want to talk about that. As we look at society in general prior to the virus, prior to January 1st, we lived a life that was very busy. And in fact, society seemed to reward those people who were busiest. We were overburdened, overtaxed, overworked, overtired. We were just going all the time. And so it was necessary for us to reorient ourselves once the virus hit us. As I met people, I would always say, "How are you?" And they would say, "Oh, recount the busyness of their lives. I'm so busy. I've got so many things going on. I'm going to this, going to that, traveling too much, not seeing enough of my family." The virus really changed that. It gave us a chance to spend more time with our family. We reduced our travel schedules. We didn't go to work. We didn't travel much outside our house. And so it brought a focus to our lives, which was very different than prior to the virus. I happen to believe that's a benefit of what we're experiencing. And I'll agree that going through this has been difficult, hard, impossible at times. But if we can focus on the best things that happen to us, I think we have to agree that we've reduced our busyness. We've focused on what's most important. And in some cases, we've gotten more done. When was the last time you asked somebody, "How are you?" and they said, "Relaxed. I got this. Everything's okay. I'm well organized. I'm efficient. I'm not overscheduled. I'm not overtired. I'm not overburdened." Isn't that the way we should approach every day, every hour? I think so. Critical to that is doing what's most important and not what's urgent. And let me repeat that. Critical to our success is doing what's important, not what's urgent. And so we have to focus on that in a really important way. I had to learn this because I found myself decades ago becoming really busy, doing lots of stuff, but I wasn't accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish. I wasn't getting stuff done. I wasn't getting the important things done in my life. And so I wanted to be certain that I accomplished my goals. And so I tried to think about how I could do that. How could I increase my performance and reducing my busyness? How was that going to be possible? Well, I experimented with some things, and what I came to realize was a concept called commit to 5. The notion that I could commit to 5 very specific things every week, important things, and I would focus on getting those done. I would start my Monday with those clearly in mind, and by Friday, I would have accomplished them. And what happened was I improved my performance. Everything got a bit better. I was less busy because I was focused on what's more important. So think about the concept for yourself. Commit to 5. Do you want to improve your performance? Do you want to improve getting important things done as opposed to just doing the busyness of going through life? Well, this notion of commit 5 is really important. So the first lesson that we have to learn is be productive, not busy. Eliminate the busyness from our lives to the degree that we can, meaning that we need to eliminate or delegate those things that really cause us to be busy. And let's really think about how we can focus on those things of consequence, of significance. And if we get those done, we then have a better life. I began to think, if it's working for me, could it work for others? For instance, could it work for our management teams? Could it work for our children? So we introduced it to our management teams. And what we found is that our management teams became better. They became high performers. They became excellent at what they were doing because they were focused on the significant, consequential, important things that they had to get done on a regular basis. And when we do that, we advance our life at a different speed. So let me describe the process for you. Every Friday by noon, my direct reports, the management team, would have to have to me their top 5 for next week. I would then review that for the appropriateness of each, given their long-term goals. Then I would take the 5 most important priorities for each of them, their top 5, and put it into one list so that all of them would have each other's top 5s. That way they could share. If there was information that needed to pass back and forth, they could do that. But it gave them the opportunity to see what everyone else was working on. And it forced a sense of accountability about getting the top 5 done. Then by Friday at noon, they will have had to have completed that top 5. No excuses, no rationale why they couldn't get it done. It was absolutely necessary to complete the top 5 every week. And what I found in that process was that we had immediate improvement in performance. We were working on those things that were most important to the business. The management team liked it because there was a high level of accountability and they were seeing their progress every week. In fact, every day as they accomplished these top 5 things. And what we need to do is to teach, guide, and lead on accountability and achievement and accomplishment every day. And the cumulative effect of that over a 5-day period is to achieve the top 5. You see, productivity drives progress. Busyness doesn't drive progress. Productivity drives progress. So the second great lesson I think that we want to learn today is that be outcomes based. Decide what outcomes you want to have in life, in your business, your personal life, family, community, and then work backwards from that and establish the metrics by which you have to accomplish those things. Commit to top 5 every week. When you commit to that top 5, it makes all the difference in the world. And so that top 5 begins your drive to progress your goals and objectives and your business goals and objectives on a regular basis. We have to create a culture which would be the discipline of doing. The discipline of doing. And whether that's in our family, in our business, in our community, or for ourselves, it's the discipline of doing because the world is made by doers. And so the more we get done of importance, the better we're going to be. You see, we have lots of systems out there that help our business. We've got EOS, we've got Gazelle, we've got MAP, and 100 other systems that create processes by which we can have metrics and we can enjoy going down the road and getting better at something and seeing the kinds of accountabilities that we have. But I needed something that was fast, simple, direct, easy to understand. Not being that bright, it was always best to have something I could understand easily. And so I developed this top 5, commit to 5 each week. And what I found is that I make more progress every day and every week as I exercise and execute against those top 5. Therefore, the third lesson I want you to take from today is success comes from accountability. Success comes from accountability. The notion that the more successful we are, the more accountability we have to have. And accountability will drive us to have greater success. So this notion is that we can plan our success by committing to 5 important things to do every week. And at the end of that week, we've accomplished those 5 things. We've made progress and we're better because of it. And we've improved our performance. Now, you may know colleagues, family members, and others who, because of the virus right now, are experiencing fatigue, lethargy, struggling. Some want to give up. Some have lost all they have. Some have lost part of what all they've built. It's been a horrendous time for so many people, millions and millions of people across the world. We need to be sensitive to that. We need to understand that. But we also need to prepare ourselves to fight our way back. Because the only alternative is to renew ourselves and become more successful again. The only option we have is to move forward. And if you'll use this commit to 5, it will give you the opportunity to be more success. I think you can help others on your management team and in your family with their focus, with their clarity, with the precision with which they see the next week ahead, if they'll just commit to 5. If they will do those things, then there is an opportunity for them to be even more successful. Because you see, in the end, getting things done that are important makes the difference in one's life. We'll always be tested by urgency. If you think of the Johari window, or you think of Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, these are about separating out the important from the urgent and always getting focused on what's important. And the work that we have to do in our own families, in our businesses, in our lives today, as a result of the virus, is to focus on what's most important. Top 5 gives you this. When you commit to 5, it gives you accountability on Friday. It gives you commitment on Monday. It gives you success by Friday again. Commit to top 5 is an easy and simple way to make certain that you have the chance to be as successful as possible. I want you to do that. I want you to give it a try. See if it works for you, and then see if it works for your management teams. See if it works for your family. Challenge your children to have a top 5. Commit to 5 for the week. Not just a listing of those things you want to get done, but those 5 things that you commit to do during that week. And at the end of that week, you will have done them. We need to teach and lead from a point of view of accountability for all with whom we have exposure, for all the people with whom we have an association. And good performance will follow that quite naturally, but it needs to be done every day and every week. Be patient. Sometimes you have to go through the worst to get to the best. Now, let me take your questions. I hope I've explained the commit to 5 adequately. You may have some questions about that or other questions that are on your mind. I'm willing to answer any questions at all. We can have a good discussion. I appreciate you being with us today, and thank you for the time that you spent to listen to me about committing to your top 5.
The question is about you. I love this question. And it's about, really simply, what are some of the examples of the things that have been on your top 5 list during this crisis?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. Thank you very much. Because the crisis has changed how we're looking at the top 5 and thinking about the top 5 and then committing to those top 5. So among those commitments is something I'm doing right now, taking a drive with my wife. One of my commitments this week was to be certain that I spent more time with her. And even though we've been quarantined, we've been busy. We needed isolated time just to talk, just to be together. So that's important. Another of my commitments to top 5 was to make some progress on the book that I'm writing and to bring that to conclusion, which I've done as a part of this week. That was one of my commit to 5 as well. Another commit to 5 was to spend time with each of our grandchildren, quality time on this trip, and to be sure that was accomplished. And we've met 2 of our grandchildren already, and we have 2 more to go. Great times, lots of fun, lots of laughter, good times. But times where a grandfather and a grandmother just speak to a grandchild in isolation, away from everyone else, was very important for us. And we learned a lot, and I hope we gave something as well. Those might be examples of what I'm doing during the virus. One of the other commit to 5s is to do the early stages on a potential acquisition, and I'm doing the research on that as we speak. So we have things like that. So I hope that's an example of the kinds of things that we can do.
Great. Thank you, Warren. Another question is about relating to a business's top 5 versus an individual's top 5. When you're working on your individual top 5s, how do those relate to the business top 5s, and how do you create alignment?
Yeah, for me, they're completely different. My personal top 5, commit to 5, is different than the business. So I see them as separate. Could they be aligned? Yes. Could they be similar? Perhaps. I don't think they could be the same, because things that I have to achieve or want to achieve in my personal life may be very different for what we're trying to accomplish in our business lives. So I keep them separate. It works best for me. So I have a commit to top 5 for my personal life and a commit to 5 for the business team and the business management as well.
And there's a question from Elise Yoakum, and that question is really about, so you have these different top 5s. Where do you keep them? Do you keep them in your notebook? Or are they in an Excel spreadsheet? Where are they?
Yeah, I keep them in my journal. And so I have a record of those top 5s and the accomplishment of those top 5s. And then I can look over a series of days and weeks, and I can see the progress that I'm making. And I can see the individual achievements and success that I've had. I think that sense of momentum is really important. We have to get momentum on our side. It's critical. We know that happens in sports. Sports commentators often talk about sort of the momentum is shifted from one team to another. That's true in our personal lives. We have to get momentum on our side, and we have to feel that momentum going forward. I think that's particularly true coming out of the virus. When we'll come out, we don't know, but we have to create momentum of accomplishment of important things in preparation for a post-virus world.
Excellent. So, Elisa, I can also share because I've learned this from Warren years ago. In my company, we post every day our top 5 in Slack. So each team member posts their top 5 at the end of the day in Slack, and it's done every single afternoon. So they have an ongoing record, and everyone can see it. So I hope that that's helpful. The next question is really centered around purpose, Warren. Jamie Duragi. By the way, I believe it's his 26th anniversary today, Jamie and Kathy Duragi. And his question is centered around purpose. He's very focused on purpose. I know he does a lot of workshops and consulting with companies on helping them find their purpose and alignment. How does purpose come into play when we think about our top 5s?
Well, first of all, Jamie, happy anniversary. Fantastic. Way to go. I was with you on your 25th anniversary. Just a year ago, we were together celebrating the renewal of your vows with your wife, Kathy. And congratulations, really happy for you. Purpose is the driver for us in everything that we do. We should know our purpose and understand it. And our top 5s, our commitment to 5, should be consistent with our purpose. Our purpose should really drive everything that we do, right? Because it's about our core values. It's about our basic belief system. It's about where we're going with our life and how we're going to get there. And therefore, our commit to 5 or our top 5 should always be in alignment with our purpose. And I hope you know, Jamie, that you and I have spent a lot of hours talking about purpose. My purpose is to improve the human condition wherever I find it. It's been my purpose for 4 decades. And so I try to assist and help people wherever I can. In fact, these episodes are really about just helping people, just having a conversation. And maybe one idea that we share makes you a little bit better. And that's fantastic. That's great. That's consistent with my purpose. And so my top 5 each week, as I just articulated for the top 5 a minute ago, are consistent with my purpose. So always look to have that consistency and alignment.
Okay, one more question. So you talk about the world is created and succeeds by doing, right? And there are a lot of doers here today with us.
Yes.
What is it about doing that helps people develop top 5s and stick to top 5s?
Discipline, right? We've talked about discipline before. Success is very difficult to have. Performance is very difficult to achieve without discipline. And so committing to top 5 every week to get done requires discipline and requires a consistency of effort, a constancy of purpose. If we can do that, then we can accomplish what it is we set out to do. But what happens to most of us is that we get distracted along the way. We start right, we make the list, we're ready to go. We want to commit to that top 5. We want to do those 5 things. And then something distracts us and we get busy with something else. And then something else distracts us. Entrepreneurs especially, business leaders especially, are well known for being distracted, right? Because we chase the next shiny object, the next book that gets read, the next speech that we hear, the next commentary that we're pleased to hear. And we get distracted, right? And so the discipline of staying on task, the discipline of being consistent is really essential and critical to achieving your purpose and to being successful. And I would encourage you to tighten up your discipline, to avoid the distractions of what's urgent, because there'll always be urgent. There'll always be something. There will be somebody walking in your office, somebody in your family. There will always be something that seems to be important at the moment. But the things that are important at the moment generally don't drive what's important for your achievement and your success. So I hope that that helps a little bit, and I hope that that's good for you. So as we think about it, be productive, not busy, be outcomes driven, and accountability drives success. And if we can remember those 3 things, you're going to have an amazing life. You're going to see your performance improve, and you're going to see extraordinary achievements. Just stay focused on that. Now, we're going to start a new episode, The Challenge to Lead, because I believe leadership in the post-virus world is going to be slightly or more different than we've seen in the past. We want to talk about some of those subtleties and nuances to becoming a great leader in the post-virus world. Thank you for joining us. I look forward to hearing you soon.